My daughter-in-law slapped me across the face and that was it. My patience had finally reached its limit. Ever since Ella got pregnant, her temper had become like a ticking bomb. At first it was just the occasional cold shoulder or a disapproving glance. But it escalated quickly. Sarcastic remarks turned into thinly veiled insults and eventually into open shouting. I won't lie, I was hurt. But I kept telling myself she's pregnant. As her mother-in-law, I should bear with it, let it pass. Never did I imagine she'd strike me. Over a dish being too salty. And right in front of my own son. That day she said she was craving something spicy, specifically red pepper roasted sea bass. I took the bus across town 7 stops just to find the freshest catch. Spent 2 hours in the kitchen preparing it with care. When I brought it to the table, she sat there scrolling through her phone, face full of impatience. She took one bite, wrinkled her nose, slammed down her fork. Why is this so salty? Didn't I tell you I wanted something mild? I tried to explain. That's just how this dish is made. You were the one who asked for it, remember? Her voice shot up. She pointed at me and snapped, "How many times do I have to repeat myself for you to get it? Are your ears just for decoration? You're so damn useless." That was it. That wasn't the first time she talked to me like that. I took off my apron, my voice cold. I'm too old to be at your beck and call. If you want something done, do it yourself. I turned to walk away, but she stormed over and slapped me hard. Her hand was like a slab of steel. She used to be a fitness coach and just a month into her pregnancy, her strength hadn't faded a bit. My ear rang instantly. I stumbled sideways, bracing on the table, but my hand slipped. My back slammed into the edge and I crashed down onto the cold tile floor. I lay there, dazed, pain shooting through my spine, breath coming in gasps. She froze. Her face went pale. Then she turned, panicked, toward the couch where Luke was still playing video games. "Babe," her voice trembled. Luke dropped the controller and rushed over, straight to Ella. He pulled her into his arms. "It's okay, baby. I've got you. I won't let anything hurt you." He didn't even glance at me. That's when Jacob came home. Since I moved in to help care for Ella during the pregnancy, he tagged along too. Spent his days playing cards or drinking with his old buddies in town, and wandered back in the evenings. The door opened and he saw me lying there. His first reaction? A scowl. "What the hell are you doing now?" he said, annoyed. Luke and Ella visibly relaxed as if backup had arrived. "Dad," Luke began, "just now, Mom." But Jacob cut him off, yelling at me. "Stella, give it a rest, will you? You tripped and fell, so now what? You want the whole house to bow down to you." Tears stung my eyes. I pointed a trembling finger at Ella. "She hit me." Luke's face tensed, but he still stood by her. "Mom, don't blow it out of proportion. She's pregnant. Hormones. She just lost it for a second." Jacob scoffed before I could respond. "She's carrying our grandson. You're supposed to be here to help, not stir up drama." Then turning to Ella, his tone softened like he was talking to a toddler. "Ella, sweetheart, just be careful next time, okay? Don't use your hands. What if you hurt yourself or the baby?" Ella pressed her lips together, but a smug little smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. Got it. Thanks." He even shot me a look, one of quiet triumph. I braced myself on the icy tiles and pulled myself up, feeling colder inside than the floor beneath me. 30 years of marriage. More than 2 decades raising a son. And in this house I was worth less than a dog. To them I was just a live-in maid who'd overstayed her welcome. Luke, seeing me upright again, wrapped his arm around Ella like nothing had happened. "See? I told you she's fine. Just being dramatic." Ella rolled her eyes and nestled against him. Jacob slapped the table. "Stella, if dinner's ready, bring it out. We're starving." "Dinner? What a joke." I grabbed the edge of the table, flipped it with one hand. The red pepper sea bass I'd painstakingly prepared, along with the rest of the meal, went crashing to the floor. Plates shattered. Sauce splattered everywhere. They froze. I pulled out my phone. My voice was ice. "I've already called the cops." Now they snapped out of it. Jacob roared, slamming the table. "Have you lost your damn mind? You ruined a whole dinner. And now you're calling the police? What'll the neighbors say?" Luke panicked. "Mom, come on, she didn't mean it. It was just one slip. You don't need to put her in jail." Ella's lips had gone pale. I didn't mean to." Jacob shouted louder than anyone. Cancel the call. Say you misdialed. Now. They all yelled over each other. My head throbbed like bees were swarming in my skull. I sat down on the couch, cradling my head blank. And that's where I was when the officers arrived. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a hospital bed. Luke was there. The moment I stirred, he shoved Ella toward me. Mom, Ella's really sorry. She knows she messed up. She's pregnant, for God's sake. Can't you forgive her just this once? Jacob hovered nearby, arms crossed, voice tight but commanding. Did you really have to make such a big deal? Call the cops? It's embarrassing. When the police get here, you'll tell them you fell. End of story. Ella stood frozen beside the bed, her eyes wide, silent. I turned my head away and shut my eyes. Jacob's voice rose, sharp with that old, familiar dominance. Stella. Did you hear me? He still thought I was the same woman who'd always backed down. The one who stayed quiet. Obedient. But what he didn't know was that slap had woken me up. I suddenly realized, what kind of life had I been living? That's what. An on-demand, unpaid servant in my own family. Even after retirement age, I was still in the kitchen running myself ragged for them, and in return, a slap. A sneer. A storm of accusations. Luke had gotten married and I thought, finally I can breathe. Finally I can live for myself after a lifetime of being someone else's backbone. But here I was 65 years old, still swallowing the humiliation, still clinging to some deluded idea of family, still standing silent after a slap to the face, while the men of the house looked on like it was no big deal. What made me their resource? Their doormat? I refused to accept that. In that moment something clenched inside me. If we're still breathing, we still have a choice. I would no longer be their soulless maid, no longer play the devoted wife for a man who couldn't care less. I was done with that role. I'm 65. It's not too late. From now on, every single day I have left will belong to me. I will love myself, with the same intensity one once gave to them. All that unconditional care? I'm reclaiming it. For me. Jacob was still muttering nearby, annoyed. The cops show up, you better be smart about it. Or you'll see what happens. There it was, or else. Even with me lying in a hospital bed, his words weren't about concern or remorse. Just threats. Still playing the tyrant in a crumbling kingdom. He didn't believe I had it in me to fight back. He assumed I'd fall in line again. That I'd bow my head like always, for the sake of Luke, for the illusion of family. But not this time. What had my silence earned me all these years? Luke had never once taken my side. He comforted the woman who struck his mother and couldn't even bend down to help me off the floor. So, who was I humiliating myself for? I stared at the ceiling and something inside me quietly broke free. No more. Hours later the police arrived. They asked the others to leave the room. Jacob was the last out, shooting me a look so sharp it could have sliced glass. Equal parts anger and warning. I knew exactly what he meant. Don't you dare. But this time I did. I told the officers everything from start to finish. Calmly. Hurry. No dramatics, just facts. Then I handed over the footage. Surveillance from the corner of the living room. It had been a precaution at first, something I set up quietly just in case. Now it was my lifeline. The officers nodded as they took notes. They also accepted the doctor's report. Minor concussion, blunt force trauma to the lower back, contusions on the elbow. They informed me they'd be taking the involved parties in for questioning. Later that night Jacob and Luke returned. Both looked nervous. In Jacob's hand was a neatly printed statement of forgiveness. He didn't even try to ease in. What the hell is wrong with you, Stella? Are you out of your mind? You dragged this nothing situation all the way to the police? Now the whole damn neighborhood knows. What a disgrace. He looked at me like I'd stabbed him in the back. But all I felt was disgust. Luke tugged discreetly at his father's sleeve, shooting him a warning glance. Jacob grumbled but backed off. Luke softened his voice, trying to sound reasonable. Mom, I'm not saying Ella was right. What she did, yeah, I was wrong. But she's pregnant. Can't you let it go? Just this once. He slid the paper across the table toward me. If you sign this, the police will drop it. No charges. And if you don't, he hesitated. Ella might get detained. He's carrying your grandchild, Mom. You really want that kind of trouble? It could affect the baby's future. Actually laughed. Bitterness stuck in my throat. This was my son. This sniveling, pathetic man was what I had raised. After all that's happened, he still wanted me to cover for Ella? Still thought I should swallow my pain to protect a child I hadn't even met? I said nothing, just stared at him, cold as stone. He fumbled. Mom, if she ends up with a record, what happens to the baby? You're gonna blow up this family over one mistake. She didn't think about the baby when she hit me. Didn't hesitate to slap me in the face. She didn't worry about anyone's future then. So why the hell was I being asked to protect her now? Who was protecting me? My bruises? My face? My heart? Without a word, I slid the paper back across the table. I'm not signing it. Don't ask again. Luke still wasn't ready to give up. If you just sign it, I promise, Ella will apologize. Properly. I scoffed. Apologize? What? You said you'd carry the weight of the world for her. So what happened? Now you're pushing her in front of me, hoping I'll clean it up. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. He rubbed the back of his neck, eyes darting. I didn't want her getting too stressed. It's not good for the baby. He was worried. About her. Worried about the person who slapped me. I looked at him and didn't recognize the man in front of me. This wasn't my son. This wasn't the boy who once held my hand and said, "Mom, you're my whole world." Words failed me. My chest tightened. My vision blurred with tears. I let them fall. I didn't wipe them. Didn't hide them. Jacob growled when he saw me cry. Oh, for God's sake, what are you crying about now? It was a slap. People have survived worse. I'm telling you, if you don't sign that paper, you can get the hell out. Get out. I repeated, my voice cold and flat. And then I laughed. Fine. I'll leave, but I want you both to remember this. I walk out clean with no shame clinging to my back. I wiped the tears from my face, lifted my chin and looked Jacob dead in the eyes. My voice was steady. Unshakable. Jacob Monroe, I want a divorce. He froze. Then, unbelievably, he let out a laugh. What did you just say? Divorce? At your age? Who the hell would want you? I shot back without missing a beat. Don't worry. I'll be just fine without a man. He sneered. You'll regret it. The minute I'm single, I could find someone younger and prettier in a heartbeat. I opened my mouth to reply, but Luke cut in, annoyed and impatient. Would you two stop already? Mom, just sign the damn paper. If Ella really gets locked up, we could lose the baby and she might even divorce me. Is that what you want? To watch this family fall apart? I snatched the statement of forgiveness from his hands and tore it to shreds, letting the pieces flutter to the ground. This family already is broken, I said coldly. I'm done. I want a divorce. Then go to hell. Jacob barked, slamming the door behind him as he stormed out. Luke stared at the torn pieces, his face flushed with rage. He pointed a trembling finger at me and shouted, You're heartless. Fine. Don't expect me to call you Mom, ever again. I laughed. Loud and free. Starting today I have no husband. No son. And it feels damn good. I'm finally free. He stormed out too, slamming the door behind him. And just like that, silence returned to the room. I leaned back against the bed. My heart felt like a cracked pane of glass. Sharp but finally whole. This time I wasn't backing down. I closed my eyes and sank into the deepest sleep I'd had in years. For the next week in the hospital, not a single call. Not a message. Not a single visit. It was as if Jacob and Luke had erased me from their lives. The police updated me later. Ella had been placed in detention for 15 days and was required to cover all my medical expenses. During that entire time, the one person who never left my side was my nephew Cooper Reed. Cooper was my sister's boy. His mother passed away when he was 16. His father remarried quickly and the house never felt like home again. Cooper boarded at school and every weekend was a tightrope walk for money, tiptoeing around his stepmother's moods. I had always been close to my sister. After she died, I treated Cooper like my own. Whenever he needed money, I slipped it to him quietly so he wouldn't go hungry. That support got him into one of the best universities in the state. His father, meanwhile, cried poor, claiming he needed the money for his new family. Cooper never complained, but I knew how hard it was. I scraped together whatever I could for him each month, just enough to keep him afloat. After graduation, Cooper co-founded a small digital tech firm up north in New Jersey. It wasn't a big company, but it was solid. He cut ties with his father, but he never forgot me. Holidays, birthdays, even random Tuesdays, he always reached out, always showed up. While I was injured, he came every day. Quiet, dependable. Brought warm meals and gentle conversation. Looking at his kind face was the only thing that kept my heart from turning completely cold. When I was discharged, I told him I was heading home to finalize the divorce. He tried to reason with me the whole way. Aunt Stella, if you can talk things out peacefully, maybe don't rush into it. But when he saw the determination on my face, he didn't press it. He just said, "Then I'm coming with you." We walked through the front door and a ceramic mug came flying toward my head. Cooper yanked me back just in time. The mug shattered against the doorframe with a deafening crash. Jacob's voice roared from inside. "What the hell are you doing back? Why didn't you just die in that hospital?" Cooper stepped in front of me. "Uncle Jacob, she just got out. Can't you speak like a human being?" Only then did Jacob realize I hadn't come alone. He shot Cooper a venomous glare. "Brought back up, huh? You think bringing muscle's gonna scare me, Stella? I will never forgive you." I pulled Cooper inside and stood firm in the entryway. "I don't need your forgiveness. I'm here to end this marriage. Officially." Jacob snorted like it was the punchline of a bad joke. "Divorce? Are you serious? You think you've got options at your age? Where the hell do you think you're gonna go?" I didn't dignify that with a response. I stepped around him and started packing. He wasn't done. He followed me to the bedroom, trailing behind like a shadow. "You think I'll come crawling back, don't you? Dream on." I folded my clothes neatly into the suitcase. "Relax. I wouldn't take you back if you were the last man alive. You can parade around with 10 mistresses for all I care." I pulled out a folder from my bag. The draft divorce agreement. I handed it to him. "This is the preliminary version. We have the house and about 100,000 in savings. Pick one." It wasn't much. But the house, though old, was in a prime location. His parents had left it to us and the value had only gone up. I knew exactly which one he'd pick. Jacob had always been selfish. The house meant more to him than I ever did. To me, it was just a tomb of silent years and unacknowledged labor. He grunted, glanced at the paper. "Obviously I'm taking the house. I'm not moving out. You can leave. I'll be just fine without you." He said it with the smugness of someone who thought the divorce was his fresh start. I didn't respond. Just zipped the suitcase and stood up. "Great. Sign the papers and be done with it." "I will," he snapped, stomping toward the living room for a pen. That's when Luke walked through the door. He brought the tension with him like a storm front. The moment he saw me packing, his face twisted in anger. "So this is it. You got what you wanted. Ella's in jail. You won. Happy now?" He threw his arms out. "Was it worth it? You burned down this whole family just to feel better about a slap?" Jacob chimed in, chuckling bitterly. "This is what happens when women think a little drama makes them powerful." One after another, their words hit me like sour smoke. Choking, ridiculous, absurd. Cooper couldn't hold it in any longer. "Luke, your wife hit your own mother, and you've got the nerve to lecture her? No matter how you spin it, hitting someone is wrong. If this is how your family's been raised, well, consider me enlightened." Luke snapped his head around to glare at him. "Who the hell are you? Since when do you get to talk about my family?" Cooper straightened his back, voice calm but firm. "I'm her nephew. That means this is my business." The words hit me like a stone to the chest. For the first time in decades, someone spoke up for me, right to their faces. And it wasn't my husband. It wasn't my son. It was a boy I once helped in secret without expecting anything in return. Jacob rolled his eyes, signed the divorce papers with a flourish and tossed them on the table. "Take it and get out. Don't come crawling back." Luke snatched up the agreement, scanning it with a growing scowl. Then his tone turned ice cold. "So that's it? You're just gonna split everything between you two? What about me? The house, the savings, that was supposed to be mine someday. How can you cut me out like this?" What a joke. He wasn't asking if I was okay. He didn't care how I'd been living. He only wanted to know if his inheritance was still intact. He used to think this family would never break, so he counted all the assets as a guarantee. But now he saw the lines being drawn, permanently, and he was panicking. Jacob's voice softened, trying to pacify him. "Oh, come on. What are you talking about? The house will be yours one day, of course it will. Don't get worked up." But Luke wasn't having it. His gaze flicked between me and Jacob, and suddenly he made up his mind. I don't care how you two split it. I want the house deed signed over to me. And I want the 10 grand transferred to my account. If you ever need money, you'll come ask me. Unbelievable. I didn't even look at him. I just reached over and snatched the papers back out of his hands. We're dividing assets, not an inheritance. This is my decision to make while I'm still alive, and you don't get a say. If you want something, try dreaming. Then I turned to Cooper, nodding. Let's go. We've wasted enough time here. Cooper grabbed my suitcase and walked with me toward the door. Luke spun around, eyes flashing. You trying to steal my mom from me? You think I don't see what you're after? If you're gunning for her money, I swear. That was it. He said it. I could leave, but the money was off limits. I looked him dead in the eye, voice low and cold. That money's mine. I'll give it to whoever the hell I want. And you? You don't get to control that anymore. This son of mine had been spoiled beyond recognition. We stepped outside. Cooper opened the car door and buckled his seatbelt before turning to me. Where to, Aunt Stella? I gave him a sly little smile. Just drive. It's all taken care of. I pointed the way and we rolled into a quiet residential neighborhood. Clean sidewalks. Well-kept lawns. Someone was walking a dog down the block. Someone else was trimming hedges. The house was a one-story cottage with a private garden out front. It belonged to my old friend Clarissa Campbell, who'd moved to Portugal 10 years ago. She rarely came back but never sold the place, couldn't bear to part with it. She kept it in pristine shape. A few weeks ago during a phone call I told her I was looking for a place to start fresh. Without hesitation she mailed me the keys. No lease, no rent. Just one request: take care of the garden for me. I stepped into a bright, airy living room. Sunlight poured through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a soft glow on the wooden floor. Outside, the garden was in full bloom. A round patio table sat beneath the trellis. 2 white wicker chairs. A fish tank lined the wall inside, a few golden fish gliding through the water, which reflected the sky like a living painting. Even though Clarissa was gone most of the year, she'd hired a professional service to clean the place and tend the plants. Now that I was moving in, those chores became part of my life. Not a burden but a peace offering. Cooper stood in the garden, turning in a slow circle. Aunt Stella, this place is heaven. It's 100 times better than our office apartment. I laughed, my voice light and free. Come by any time. I'll cook, you help me fix up the trellis and water lines. He grinned. Deal. I waved him off as he drove away. Then I changed into comfortable clothes, brewed a cup of tea and brought my speaker out to the garden. Soft music played. The wind stirred the flowers. The sun was warm, not harsh. For the first time in my life I felt like time itself had finally decided to treat me gently. God, so this is what life could be. I'd been too busy being a wife, a mother, a maid, a keeper of someone else's world. So busy I never stopped to ask, what do I want? I'd spent years thinking I wasn't good enough. That everyone else got to make the rules. But now I understood, no one is born superior. No one has the right to take my freedom from me. Time is fair. He gives each of us the same hours in a day. The same number of days in a life. So why shouldn't I spend the rest of mine on me? The afternoon Ella got out of jail, the sunlight was almost too perfect, like it had something to hide. I was trimming flowers in the garden when I heard the knock at the front door. Cooper answered it. I didn't hear everything, just his low voice saying, "Tell her yourself. She doesn't owe you anything." I looked up to see Ella standing at the threshold in a crisp maternity dress, her makeup flawless, her face blank like nothing had ever happened. She walked in slowly, sat in the chair across from me, resting her hands on her belly. She gave me a polite smile, the kind you offer a stranger at the bank. I came to talk, she said. I didn't respond. I kept trimming the flowers. She waited a few seconds before speaking again. I know what happened hurt you, but it's in the past now. Luke says if you're really as mature as you claim, then you should let it go. I finally looked up, my voice devoid of warmth. Are you here to reason with me, or to apply pressure? Her mouth twitched. Annoyance flickered in her eyes. I just think this shouldn't keep affecting our family, especially the baby. I set the pruning shears down, gazed at her without a word. Her expression stiffened. Then she changed tactics. You've already got what you wanted. I did time. Your son and father-in-law are on the brink of a breakdown. What more do you want? I stared at her, my voice cold and still like ice in winter. Do you think I called the police out of revenge? She lifted her chin. Didn't you? I pulled a folder from the table and slid out a copy of the police report, along with photographs of the bruises on my forehead, back, and elbow. She hesitated, didn't reach for them. I placed the documents squarely in front of her. The originals are already filed at my attorney's office. If you ever raise your voice at me again or come anywhere near me in a threatening way, my lawyer will file for a restraining order, and with it seek a revocation of your custody rights. For the first time I saw something shake in her eyes. Her lips trembled slightly. I went on. And you were planning to return to the fitness industry, weren't you? I've backed up the surveillance footage of you hitting me. If you push this any further, I'll anonymously send it to every potential employer you have. Let's see how well that plays on social media. Her face drained of color. It was like I had slapped her, except this time it left no mark, only silence. I stood calm and deliberate. Don't forget, your own lawyer advised you to stay quiet and compliant. If you're smart, don't throw your whole future away for the sake of your temper. She stared at me, seething but silent. The fury in her eyes didn't match the way her shoulders slumped in defeat. From the doorway, Cooper spoke, voice flat. If you're done, please leave. We like the quiet around here. She shot me one last hateful glance, then turned on her heel and caught her foot on the threshold, stumbling slightly on her way out. The door shut behind her. I didn't sit. I quietly gathered the documents and returned them to the drawer. My movements were light, but inside I felt solid, anchored. The woman I used to be was afraid of Ella, not because of her strength, but because I clung to the illusion that we were still a family. That if I stayed silent I could preserve something whole. But today I understood. That family was never safety, it was control. And now I had a home, legal protection, and the life I chose. Most of all, I had power. Cooper walked in with a cup of tea, grinning. That speech you gave her? Epic. I smiled. She may not respect people yet, but she'll learn to fear consequences. He sat beside me, serious now. Aunt Stella, you're not the same woman you used to be. I nodded. No. I've finally figured it out. Real freedom isn't about being loud. It's about knowing when to fight and when to cut off what doesn't serve you. Outside, the breeze rustled the hanging ferns, like they were nodding in agreement. 3 days after Ella left, I made an appointment with Cooper to visit a law office downtown. My attorney, Camille Jenkins, was a woman in her 50s with gold-rimmed glasses and a voice as calm as a lake, each word sharp as a scalpel. A survivor of domestic abuse herself, she now specialized in estate planning and legal protection for older women. Mrs. Monroe, she said the moment I sat down, you don't just need to protect your money. You need to eliminate any leverage anyone might try to use against you. I nodded. I want everything sealed. No loopholes. She drafted a new will on the spot. My retirement account. My new savings account. All placed solely under my name. The beneficiaries? 2. Half to the State Women's Shelter Fund and Community Garden Initiative. The other half, Cooper. Seeing his name there brought a peace I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't punishing Luke. I was honoring a truth. The person who saw me, respected me, and stood by me when I was at my lowest was Cooper. Not my son. Once the documents were signed, Camille looked up and said, "Send copies to Jacob and Luke. Not because they need to respond, but because you need them to know they're not entitled to your life anymore." And so I did. 2 manila envelopes. 2 cover letters. No apologies. No explanations. I didn't wait for a reply. I didn't need one. A few days later, Cooper stopped by to help install the new irrigation system in the garden. After adjusting the valve, he reached into his pocket and handed me 2 receipts. They both got the mail, he said. That was all. And it was enough. Just when I thought I could finally settle into peace, Luke called. "Mom," he started, voice stripped of all its usual heat, eerily gentle in fact. That tone I knew all too well. It always came out when he needed something. "I just saw the copy of the will you sent. Are you seriously giving the money away? You didn't even ask if I was okay with it." I let out a dry laugh. "Ask you? Since when do I need your permission to spend the money I earned?" He paused, then his tone sharpened. "I'm your son. How can you give everything to an outsider? Who even is Cooper to you?" I answered without flinching. "Cooper is my family. You are not. Silence on the line. 3 long seconds of it. Then came the explosion. Are you out of your mind? I'm your son. You can't just cut me off. I swear to God, I'll have you declared incompetent and put in a home. You won't get to touch a dime. I burst out laughing. Then I said, calm and crystal clear, maybe check with your lawyer first. What you're doing right now. That's called financial coercion and elder intimidation. This call has been recorded. You're recording me? You're committing a crime, I said. And you're the worst investment I ever made. I ended the call and immediately sent the recording to Camille. Less than 3 hours later she replied, if he contacts you again, I'll personally escort him into court. That evening I switched my phone to Do Not Disturb. I installed the new smart doorbell Cooper had set up for me and updated all my passwords. From now on, if he wanted to get near my door, he'd need more than just a knock. He'd need a shred of decency. 2 days later I logged back into an old social site I'd signed up for years ago. One made for women my age, but had never posted on. Using a new username I published my first public post. At 60 I was humiliated by my husband, slapped by my daughter-in-law and called a burden by my own son. But now I have my own house, my own garden, my own name and money. Walking away from them didn't leave me empty. It gave me back to myself. If you're still holding on, ask yourself what exactly you're waiting for. Still I am. I didn't expect many people to see it. But within 3 days, it had been shared over 1,000 times. Comments poured in. One woman wrote, "You're the reason I filed for divorce this morning." Another said, "I'm printing your quote and taping it to my fridge. Some inheritances are earned through respect." Reading those words, hearing their stories, I realized something. I wasn't alone. I had simply given voice to what so many women were too afraid, too exhausted, or too conditioned to say aloud. A few weeks later, I withdrew a small amount from my personal savings and walked into the admissions office of the town's flower design school. The receptionist smiled politely. "Are you looking to learn a little arrangement for home decor?" I grinned back. "No, I'm looking to learn a little life for myself." She blinked, then smiled wide. Best answer I've heard all week. Back home, I placed a new sign right in the center of my garden, crafted by Cooper himself. Read, "Only welcome if you bring peace." That year I turned 65. If you asked me whether I had regrets, I'd say yes. Of course I did. I regretted learning how to endure too early and how to walk away far too late. But thank God, it wasn't too late. My life now is stunningly simple. I wake up, make a cup of black coffee, snip a few fresh roses from the backyard. In the afternoon I visit the town library, flip through magazines. Sometimes I pass by a flower shop and buy myself a small bouquet of tulips. In the evenings I sit in my garden, listen to the wind rustle the bamboo, watch the goldfish send ripples through the water. No interruptions. No orders. No guilt. I'm no longer Luke's mother. No longer Jacob's wife. No longer Ella's anything. I'm Stella. A woman finally living in her own name. Luke never contacted me again. I heard Ella tried to reapply at her old fitness club. They turned her down, citing reputation concerns. I don't know if the video ever leaked, or if guilt just got to her. Either way, she knows better now. She'll never control me again. As for Luke, he went silent. Maybe he finally realized I meant every word. The final answer from both of them was silence. A clean, sharp cut. Me. I didn't feel sad at all. Because when I needed them most, they looked away. Now I finally understand. Just because someone shares your blood doesn't mean they're your family. Family is the one who picks you up when you fall. Who stands in front of you, not behind. Someone like Cooper. That day, as we were replanting in the garden, Cooper asked me, "Aunt Stella, do you ever think about falling in love again?" I chuckled, plunging the trowel into the soil. Not really. My life right now is already happier than most marriages I know. He tilted his head, a little smile on his face. "So, how do you feel about your life looking back?" His question made me pause. I really thought about it for a moment, then answered, "For the first few decades I was like a quiet river, flowing wherever I was told to go. From now on I want to be a waterfall." He laughed. "Well, just remember, when a waterfall crashes, it scares the hell out of all the people pretending to be calm on the riverbank." I smiled back. Let them be scared. They're the ones who thought I'd never move. Later that month, the senior center in town invited me to give a talk. The theme was, How I Found Myself Again. I stood on that little stage facing a room full of women and said my first sentence. My daughter-in-law slapped me, my husband said I was faking it, and my son told me to stop making a scene. So I called the police, I moved out, and I cut them off. The rest of my life belongs to me and me alone. There was a second of silence. Then the room erupted in applause, loud, roaring, wave after wave. I continued, Ladies, if there's still a breath left in your body, don't waste it sighing. Use it. On the way home, I turned to Cooper and said, I don't even feel angry anymore. What do you feel then? He asked. Clean, I said. Clean like the first ray of morning light. Like the first snowflake drifting into a winter garden. I no longer needed to prove my worth through sacrifice. I no longer waited for anyone to turn around and say, thank you for everything. I wasn't looking for gratitude. I was looking for air. For space. For that one unbothered, unowned breath of freedom. And now I'm finally breathing.